be. You know your shoelace is untied.
He's a 20th century guy.
For that arrogance, I shall see you dead.
Trapped in the Middle Ages.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. This is my boomstick!
They live. They breathe. They suck. Army of Darkness.
Welcome to the 12th annual Halloween special, and happy Halloween to all of you. I happen to be living in a little place called The Village. I mostly like living here, except for the whole creatures in the woods thing. But other than that, it's a nice place to live. Happy Halloween, everybody. I hope you're having a great one. If it's after Halloween, I hope you had a great one. Last year, I decided to start a new tradition for the Halloween Day video, and that is that whatever film I'm covering, I've got to wear my Halloween costume for that year in the video, and I was a Pizza Planet delivery man in my review of E.T. And this year, I am portraying someone who lives in the village. I don't have to be Lucius Hunt. I think I'd rather be Michael Pitt. His character in that movie was like, I don't want to be here. Why am I here? Like, what's going on? In general, that's how I feel about most things. But I want to thank my sister for sewing this cloak. She did a great job. Thanks to my wife for taking this photo. We had such a great time. My kids were wizards. My wife was a witch. And I was somebody who lives in M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. Let's talk about Army of Darkness, the excellent trilogy closer directed by Sam Raimi. This film came out in 1992 and stars Bruce Campbell. What I love about Army of Darkness is that it actually commits to the ending of Evil Dead 2. Here, Ash Williams is accidentally transported to 1300 AD, where he must retrieve the Necronomicon and battle an army of the dead in order to return home. When Evil Dead 2 ended the way it did, you could easily assume that when the third one rolled around and they got more money to make it, that the studio might have been like, could you not do that? Like, why do we have to, like, the first two are totally Cabin in the Woods movies. The first one is a low budget Cabin in the Woods movie. The second one is a slightly higher budget, but still low budget remake of the first one. Why is the third one in medieval times? What are you thinking? And yet I love this trilogy and wouldn't have it any other way. All three are so bonkers and insane and off the wall. It makes perfect sense to end this way. All the film buffs and all the different sides of the film community and every single film circle you might find, whether it's art house or mainstream, love to talk about what are the best trilogies of all time. The art house side might mention things like the Before trilogy or the Human Condition trilogy, which is excellent, and if you've never seen it, you have to. Those films are essentially perfect. And of course, on the mainstream side, you hear about the Lord of the Rings, the original Star Wars trilogy, and for some reason, not enough people talk about how great the Evil Dead trilogy is. All three of these movies are incredible, inspirational achievements in comedy and horror. Just like with the previous two films, Sam Raimi utilizes very dynamic camera angles and movements to create a frenetic pace that never drops. Army of Darkness is under 90 minutes. It's so fast, absurdly so, to the point where it doesn't even feel like you watched a feature film. And it's not just because of the length, it's because of how quickly Sam Raimi moves things along. And because Bruce Campbell is so damn likable in this role. I could watch him play it forever. I've also always loved how even though it takes place in 1300 AD, Raimi was very careful to include what is essentially a Cabin in the Woods sequence, just this time it's in a windmill, where Ash faces off against a bunch of little tiny ashes that just... What really is happening in that scene? Like, yet another reason I love all three of these movies, but especially Army of Darkness. I think more so than Evil Dead and especially 1. This film is absurd. It's absolutely insane. The rules of physics do not apply to this universe. The rules of reality in general do not apply to this universe. Little tiny ashes can poke his butt with pitchforks. People hang in midair for far longer than is humanly possible. And what's great about all of this is that the film leans into it wholeheartedly. It's absolutely a blast in that way. You aren't taking it seriously, and yet it is made with such impeccable skill that you realize its filmmakers are. Sam Raimi is taking this seriously, but he makes sure every step of the way we know that the film isn't meant to be taken seriously, and that is almost impossible to achieve. Because you could say that about a lot of movies. In fact, you hear that a lot. This is a turn your brain off kind of movie. You have to enjoy it on that level. And I usually push back against that, even though I'm sure I've said it before in the past. The idea that you have to turn your brain off to enjoy a movie seems to suggest that the filmmakers weren't really using their brain while they were making it. In the case of a film like Army of Darkness, you could hear that. Just turn your brain off, kick your feet up, and relax. But you can tell that everyone involved with this movie thought of everything because of how magnificently crafted it is. The film is also a slapstick lover's dream, like the sequence where he's slapped and hit and punched by all of these skeletal hands. Campbell proved himself in the first and second film not just as an actor, but as a physical actor, somebody who could get thrown into these scenes and take everything that Sam Raimi throws at him. And Raimi is known for being a director that puts his actors through the ringer for the betterment of their film. For instance, this shot in Spider-Man 2, where someone smacks Tobey Maguire in the head with a backpack filled with books, who just so happens to be Sam Raimi off screen. Supposedly in this scene where Bruce Campbell is getting pelted with stones, they weren't real stones, but instead potatoes, which I imagine didn't feel very good. Sequences where Campbell is meant to twist and contort his body to get out of the way of enemy swords and weaponry looks extremely difficult, and all of that creates a better experience for the audience when we can see our hero getting his ass kicked. And the amount of pure practical chaos on display during this battle is amazing. All of the skeletal creatures blowing up, and the lead up to the battle, and Raimi's use of sound, cutting from the approaching enemies and the waiting archers, really heightens the tension. But I think if there was one undeniable achievement with Army of Darkness that I really look to when I see the film, is that despite the fact that they had a higher budget this time, it still feels just as scrappy as the first two. There's nothing about this movie where it feels like Raimi lost his edge or that studio involvement ruined everything, even though there are different cuts of this film out there. It is one of the rare examples where a theatrical cut and a director's cut and the international and all that stuff resulted in a movie that has always been good from the very beginning. I don't think people realize how impossibly difficult that is. Look at almost any successful franchise that began as a smaller, lower budget film. You can almost always see a serious quality drop-off as more money was thrown at the filmmakers. But not in the case of Raimi's trilogy. He stayed true to his roots. Bruce Campbell gave another excellent performance, which is why Evil Dead is easily one of my favorite trilogies of all time. Like, it's within the top 5 for sure. And also, side point, I just love that Raimi has made 2 films where somebody swings from a rope saying,
Tally-ho! Tally-ho!
And even though some people do get a little up in arms about what ending is best, the good ending or the bad ending, the theatrical being the supermarket ending, the bad ending being the director's cut that seems not as happy, I think both have their place, but the theatrical does happen to be my favorite because it matches the absurdity of the rest of the film. There is one thing, though, about Army of Darkness that is truly one of the great film tragedies, and that is that it was originally titled The Medieval Dead. And we lost that. Rest in peace, greatest film title of all time. Guys, yet again, thank you so much for watching the 12th annual Halloween special. This was so much fun. I adore this time of year. It is by far my favorite thing that I do on this channel. And every time we reach this part of the year, I always feel a little sad. But I gotta say, I had so much fun doing this, and I hope you guys enjoyed the videos. And I hope you guys like my stupid costume because I like sharing, and it also kind of makes me want to try a little bit harder. Like in the past, if I'm not gonna share my costume, it's kind of like, I'll just do whatever. I'll be a zombie or something. But if I know that I'm going to do it in a video every year, it's going to make me try to find some kind of cool thing to do. So thank you for appreciating that. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for watching the special. I love you guys. I hope you had a really fun time this year and that your Halloween was great. And there's going to be a link in a second here for the playlist of the entire special. If you missed any of those videos, please check them out. I had a great time making them. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. Happy Halloween. Have a great one. And if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.